Here we are. The moment I held Roxy in my arms for the first time, something in me just shifted. She was so tiny, barely able to walk, with eyes that blinked up at me like she wasn't sure if the world was safe yet. And in that moment, I made her a promise that I would be her safe place, her home. Caring for her in those first few weeks felt exactly like bringing home a newborn. She couldn't move much on her own, so we carried her everywhere. Gently wrapped in blankets, snuggled close to our chests. She'd sleep almost constantly, only waking to nuzzle in for milk. It was exhausting, unpredictable, and absolutely beautiful. I fell for her fast and hard. But there was one little complication. Diesel, our dog. Diesel's been with us for years. He's loyal, smart, and sweet, but also a little dramatic when he thinks he's not the center of attention. So when Roxy came home and suddenly our arms were full of this tiny squeaking creature, Diesel was confused, maybe even a little hurt. Every time we pet her or carried her, he'd slide in between us like, "Hey, what about me?" At first, I'll admit, I was nervous. I didn't know if they'd ever get along. The whole idea started with my husband. A couple of years ago, he came to me and said, "I want to rescue a fox." I looked at him like he'd just suggested we adopt a bear. It felt out there. Wild, impractical, impossible. But over time, I saw how serious he was. He wasn't being impulsive. He was researching, planning, thinking it through. And somewhere along the way, I softened. I said yes. We were careful. We didn't just go out and find any fox. We connected with a licensed rescue shelter that specializes in exotic wildlife. That's where we learned about Roxy. Her parents had been raised in captivity, and as a result, she'd been born without the instincts to survive in the wild. Releasing her would have been a death sentence. The shelter knew she needed a home, one with structure, care, and love. After consulting with veterinarians and wildlife specialists, we were told she'd do best in a private home with committed caregivers. So we brought her home. And that's when our lives changed. My husband spent weeks transforming half our basement into a dedicated fox-friendly space. It was soft, warm, stimulating. We made sure she had toys, places to hide, and everything she could need. Feeding her required planning. Enrichment took thought. But watching her grow and thrive made every late night and every anxious moment worth it. The most beautiful surprise came from Diesel. At first, he was hesitant, but Roxy, even as a baby, had this energy, this spark. And Diesel, despite himself, was curious. Day by day, they edged closer, sniffed noses, shared space. And then, one day, Diesel lay down on the floor and Roxy pounced on him. That was it. From that moment, it was like he'd adopted her as his own. Now they play constantly. Roxy will disappear for an hour, and when she returns, even if she just saw Diesel, she gets so excited she wags her tail like a dog and sometimes even pees on the floor out of pure joy. It's hilarious. She's got this wild little hop when she's happy, and she bounds straight into Diesel like she can't believe he's still here. People always say foxes and dogs can't get along, but Diesel and Roxy have written their own story. They roughhouse like siblings, cuddle like best friends, and keep an eye on each other like they're bound by something deeper. And Diesel? He's turned into her shadow. If she leaves the room, he follows. If she makes a sound, he perks up. It's like he feels responsible for her. Like he knows she's family now. Watching them together is one of the most incredible things I've ever experienced. Of course, they need breaks. Just like people, they get tired. We've learned to separate them sometimes so they can rest. But the bond they share, it's real. It's built on trust, patience, and time. And it reminds me how powerful love can be when it's given the space to grow naturally. Caring for Roxy hasn't always been easy. Foxes aren't domestic animals. They have different needs, different rhythms. But with support from professionals, regular vet care, and constant learning, we've created a life where she can thrive. And watching her personality unfold has been the most rewarding part. She's mischievous, brilliant, and full of sass. She does what she wants, when she wants. She's not like a dog, and not quite like a cat. She's entirely her own thing. She'll dart across the room like lightning, only to stop and stare at you with the most serious expression, like she's contemplating the secrets of the universe. And then she's back to wrestling with Diesel or climbing into my lap for a quick cuddle before disappearing again. I never imagined we'd have a fox in our family. But I also never imagined how much joy, laughter, and love she would bring into our home. She's taught us about resilience, about adapting, about listening and slowing down, and paying attention to the quiet moments that matter. If you're thinking about rescuing or adopting an exotic animal, please do your research. Speak with professionals. Understand what these animals need, not just physically, but emotionally. Because giving them a safe, healthy life means understanding the world from their perspective. And if you can't adopt but still want to help, please consider donating to your local wildlife rescues or sanctuaries. These organizations do incredible work, often on tight budgets and limited resources. They're the reason animals like Roxy get a second chance, and every little bit helps. I look at Roxy now, curled up next to Diesel, eyes half closed, tail flicking softly, and I feel nothing but gratitude. She may not have started her life in the wild, but she found her place. And so did we. In loving her, we became something new too. A family that includes a fox. A story we never expected to tell, but one we'll never stop being proud of.